council is designed to be a check on the power of the governor, whose suite is beyond that door, and who won't come to you to greet you and thank you for coming today. So I'm doing it.
It's his law.
It's what?
It's his law.
It is his law.
Okay, so you got a Marine, a former Marine, and an Air Force serviceman both sitting there, and he won't walk across the hall. It's pretty crappy.
Well, it's not probably embarrassing and shame though. I mean, if it can't be a more man that, I mean,
He
even if
doesn't have the kind of understanding of the death penalty system that you guys do. That I've been doing volunteer work as a lawyer on capital cases since the mid-'80s.
Just two veterans alone that should bring them across the hall.
Yes, it should. It should be a respectful effort, but it won't be.
There you go.
But look, we have one person on our death row here, Michael Addison.
Who's black?
Happens to be a young African-American guy from out of state, which multiple strikes against him have made it easier to convict him.
Right.
He did kill a police officer, there's no doubt about that, but it doesn't.
Ray and I were both from different states. And Ray and I both were from different
Arizona,
states.
welcome there to come on vacation, leave on probation.
I was, well, I wasn't from a different state, but I came from a different county in the state.
Yeah,
It's the
it's
same
almost
difference.
the same thing. Yeah, the cases that I tried in Knoxville actually were representing 2 of the 3 defendants were from a different county or different state, and were defined as being others.
Right.
And so the whole point is to dehumanize the person on trial, and what people don't understand is you also dehumanize everybody in the room, including the jury.
Well, you know, in a death penalty case too, they're not killing a veteran, they're not killing a brother, a son, a husband, a father, they're killing a monster. There's got to be, he's got to be portrayed as a monster.
That's the only way for a juror to do that. So the case I'm working on now in Georgia, the murder happened in '89.
Yes.
The fellow's still on death row. We're in the 11th Circuit. We're interviewing remaining jurors who are telling us about PTSD from the experience
I'll be on the previous trial.
of being in the trial and having to make the decision. And in our case, there was significant evidence that was withheld by the prosecution. And so we're telling these folks, what would you have done if you knew about this other thing? And they're all beside themselves.
Ray and I both had 4 trials.
Yeah, 2 for me, 2 for you.
Yeah.
That's exactly what my case was overturned about, because it was held out.
My first trial, my first trial was only 3.5 days. The court-appointed attorney, I was innocent, and I'm not to worry about. Well, that's maybe normal. The second trial was 7 weeks comparison. But when they did that 10 years after I got out, Arizona did the Justice Project out there, did like a review, a recap, like that's the word I'm looking for, taking apart the case, and had people in from the trial, even had the medical examiner, had the DNA person from the Phoenix Crime Lab. But the interesting was they called around, so there was 2 juries. They had a possibility of anywhere from 24 to even the alternates to jurors. Well, the ones in the second trial, oh no, he's guilty. The second trial, I'm already out now. But the first trial, where they only heard 3.5 days of testimony, mostly prosecution and bite mark expert. One of them said, yeah, he'd like to come forward. Well, he was all set. Apparently here, when he found out the day that I was announced that I was being released, a friend of his said, wasn't that murder trial you were on 10 years ago? And he almost ran his car off the road. He thought he was in the first trial, after I got a new trial, I thought he was a little concerned. I got a second trial, got convicted. He thought, well, good, we did the right thing. Then he found out I got released. He'd been upset. Now it took a couple of years later anyway, but when he was contacted, he wanted to come and meet me. And he was in tears, he was crying, apologized for what he had done. And I said, you don't understand, you didn't hear the fact. If you'll stay here today and want to listen to these people that were involved in my case. Anyway, after that, we're good friends now. He worked with Arizona Coalition now to abolish death penalty. He goes and speaks from the point of what it's like to be a juror on a case where you convicted somebody to death. It tore him up that bad.
That's what people don't understand, what we do to everyone involved in the process.
I was on Oprah Winfrey for the second time I was on a show. So, Oprah always tries to surprise you sometimes.
Gotcha.
And so she surprised me. So she said, the producer told me, said, well, I hope it's got a surprise for me. I said, well, I hope it's a Cadillac. And she said, no. And I said, I hope it's nothing really crazy. So I was sitting there, and Oprah and I were talking, and out. She says, I have a surprise for you. She says, there's a member of the jury you were on's here. So she does surprise me.
Yeah.
So it was the foreman of the second jury trial. And he was very, I think contrite is a good word, you know, he's very upset about everything. And he says, you know, we're sitting there and he goes, you know, Mr. Bloodsworth, I'm really sorry that we convicted you and found you guilty. I said, so am I. And, but that's okay. You didn't know it all. You didn't have all the facts because they withheld a lot of facts. He said the reason why he felt bad afterwards, he said it was my face. He said it wasn't a face of like acceptance. It was a face of resentment. It was like you really messed up. My face blanched and I turned red and I was mad as hell. And he said, you were a guy that I knew we had done the wrong thing to. And, you know, the prosecution the whole time, even after the DNA test came out, still called me a monster to the very end. Even in my documentary film, you can see the prosecutor right on the screen say, well, we're not, we're not saying that there wasn't any mistakes made, but we're not mistaken of who it was. So that's what they said during my second trial. And of course, at the end of the day, 2 jurors, 2 judges, and all the police force and the prosecution's office of Baltimore County, Maryland were dead wrong. That's what it comes to at the end of the day.
And cases without DNA, cases without something that can be disproved so clearly.
I think Ray and I are lucky in that respect.
Well, the few DNA.
You know, there's only 20 of us on death row, or really, there's a lot of DNA cases, but on death row, it's only 20.
Yeah.
You know, it's we're it. You know?
Yeah. See, the case I have now, there's not a DNA issue. My guy was clearly there. It's just whether he was the trigger person or not.
I'm sorry.
Well, what's the first to squeal gets the deal.
3 guys there, 2 went uncharged.
Yeah,
Third guy got the death penalty. Yeah. I'm sorry.
Is it Keith Tharp? Is that the case?
No, it's Jimmy Metters
Oh.
in Georgia, which is, I don't know how bad the conditions were that you guys survived. His are awful.
Yeah.
Which is a whole different aspect.
Is he a white man?
Yeah.
I mean, again, that's an awkward thing to say, but you know, the different prisons, the sections of the country you're in, matters a whole lot what color you are to make for the treatment. And
unfortunately, there's a lot of truth to that, but you know, he's been on death row for 27 years. Lives in a box by himself, essentially. Concrete block building in the middle of Georgia that's cold in the winter and broiling in the summer.
Exactly.
But you were hot as hell.
We didn't have no air conditioning.
Yeah. It's
Summertime was brutal.
Went our floor down, slept on a sheet on the floor. When concrete was the coolest thing to do, you went your sheet down, sleep on your floor.
Yeah.
That was the only way to
Food's
get in.
unbearable.
Yeah, it was nothing but like offal and noodles.
Yeah.
And stuff like that.
Yeah.
Gizzards.
We were
Things like that.
at the time, it's all going now, but at the time when I first got down in '92, they were allowed at Christmas time to get 75 pounds of food in for the outside for 3. It could be 3 25-pound boxes, which guys would learn how to make that last as long as possible.
Sure.
But that was something. 75 pounds was actually quite a bit of food for Christmas time.
We got 2 packages a year. We got one at Christmas and one at Easter. And also for the Muslim prisoners, they gave a Ramadan package to every March. You know.
No one left tipped you to go Muslim?
No, but I was okay with the swine though. I took all the lunch meat from. I had a lot of friends. The guy that I played chess with was Muslim. And we just switched over.
They stopped it all. All we had in Arizona was either hamburger or turkey. There was no pork no more, no bacon no more, no nothing. All we ever got was some type of ground beef or chicken, or turkey.
So for breakfast, we had one hard-boiled egg. One hard-boiled egg and a piece of white bread, a spoonful of mustard, and a little corner of farina.
We're just talking.
You know, I usually blow that much up my nose during the breakfast. I mean, you know, it was awful.